My name's Rhiannon, and along with my husband Julian, we have two beautiful girls. This is Olive Faith. She's 6 months old, and we have Willow, who is 2.5. And this is a bit of our story about receiving Olive's diagnosis for Down syndrome. So we were on our way home from Christmas 2017 when I said to Julian, I think we might be pregnant. And when we got home, took a test, and we were. So we told a few of our close family and friends, and they were all just so excited. We weren't exactly planning to be pregnant, but we just loved being Willow's parents. So we were just over the moon that we were pregnant again. Then we went and saw our doctor, who took us through the normal processes and organised our first 12-week scan, which was where everything got shaken up a little bit. We arrived at our 12-week scan, which is also known as the nuchal translucency scan, and measures the fold on the back of the baby's neck. Also, they check a lot of other things, but that's basically the one thing that they're really looking for at that scan, and that is a marker for Down syndrome. So basically we arrived and we had thought it would be a good idea to bring our 18-month-old, who we thought would be super excited to see her sibling on a screen. But it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon and dinner time, toddler in a dark room, not a great idea. Anyways, moral of the story, don't do that. Julian sat in the waiting room with her because she lasted all of 2 minutes in there. And I sat in the room with the lady who scanned the one spot over and over and over. So we got to about the 20-minute mark, and the lady said to me, I'm gonna need to get some help because your baby's moving a lot and I can't seem to get the numbers right. And I was thinking to myself, the numbers are the same. I don't think, like, I would have thought if the baby was moving a lot, they would have just been all over the place. But anyway, she left and she was gone for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, she still wasn't back. 40 minutes, she came back. And the whole time I'm sitting in there, no phone reception, so I couldn't even contact Julian. And just thinking to myself, what's going on? Why does she need this help? And when she came back in, she said, I'm really sorry, but it appears your pregnancy is high risk and you're gonna have to go back and see your doctor for more details. That was on a Friday afternoon and it was a public holiday on the Monday. So you can imagine what our weekend was like after being told we have a high risk pregnancy and not knowing what that meant. In my head, I knew that test was for Down syndrome, and I had never had anything to do with anybody with Down syndrome, and so I had no idea what that meant. And I didn't think that it was a bad thing, but to be told that my pregnancy was high risk, it immediately just instills this fear. What's wrong with my baby? Why is Down syndrome so bad? I've always been told that it's fine. I always had a conviction that I would never terminate regardless of what condition my baby had. So why am I being told this is high risk? So we waited to see our doctor, who thankfully was amazing, and we had such amazing friends and family around us just really praying for us and yeah, just lifting us up. And so we went to see our doctor, who kind of just reassured us and let us know that it was fine, everything's okay. We'll get this other test, also known as a harmony test or NIPT, which we went ahead and did. So we went to the doctor and sure enough, our results were still a high chance. And the benefit of having that harmony test is we also got to find out the gender.
Yes. Ready? Are we ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. It's a girl!
And we had a little gathering with some close family and friends. That's where we popped our balloon, and we also got to share with our close friends where we were at with our baby's possible diagnosis, which was so great because it meant that we had so many people supporting us and standing with us, which, if anybody's watching this going through something like that, I really recommend finding some support because that was really what has got us through. From there, our doctor mentioned that we would need to be monitored a little bit more carefully, just because babies with Down syndrome can have issues with their hearts or lungs and bowel and placenta issues. So when we went for our 20-week scan, we had to go to a specialist and they would look a lot more in detail at those particular things and look for markers of Down syndrome on the scan. Our doctor also warned us that we would be seen by a genetic counsellor who would suggest an amniocentesis, which is a big needle into the belly, guided by an ultrasound, and that takes fluid out, and then they can confirm whether your baby does have Down syndrome. But she suggested not doing that at all because we had made up our minds that we didn't want to terminate at all, regardless. So yeah, our doctor thankfully pre-warned us about that. When we went for our 20-week scan, we had an amazing sonographer. She went through every single detail and feature characteristic that she was looking for. Heart conditions, she went through the heart in so much detail, bowel conditions, shorter femur, nasal bone, things like that, that would be markers for Down syndrome, which she found none of. Then at the end of the scan basically said, if I didn't know your test results, I would have thought your baby was perfect. Perfect. What's a perfect baby? My baby's perfect. All babies are perfect, regardless of condition. When we sat down with the obstetrician, we were met with a whole bunch of statistics, numbers, and for 45 minutes told why having a baby with Down syndrome would be a complete negative. There were a few positives thrown in there, don't get me wrong, but it was basically how our life would be a burden. Our child would be abusive. I can't actually believe that's one thing that she did comment on. But we would be stuck with her for the rest of our lives. And so many negatives. I don't even want to bring those up because that's not what this is about. But basically that's kind of the way that you're treated. And they force this amniocentesis on you because they want to know if your baby has Down syndrome, so then you can decide to terminate, essentially. But we already had that conviction, and that's where I really just feel for people who don't already have that conviction and don't know that an amnio is actually a choice. And I really want to get the word out there that having a baby with Down syndrome, it's not bad. Because there's so many mums at that point who are faced with that, and the statistics in Australia are really scary at the moment. It's 98% to 99% of babies who have a confirmed diagnosis of Down syndrome are terminated. So that's so high, and I'm not putting anything negative on those parents who have decided that, because I've been there in that position and I know how much it is forced on you. So this is purely for educating people for the future, that, you know, we want to show what Olive's life is like. We want to show that, yes, it is a little bit tricky sometimes, but it's beautiful. Olive is well loved by her sister. She's well loved by her family. She's well loved by friends. So the rest of our pregnancy was pretty much between my GP, who was incredibly supportive and still is, and midwives who were great, and then a whole heap of other medical professionals who were maybe not so supportive. And just in the way that they speak, which I now have learnt, it's just the simple little terms and way that they put things can be quite confronting and fear-filling, I guess. It's just, yeah, makes you a little bit more scared. But thankfully we had incredibly supportive friends around us who, yeah, just lifted us up. My prayer is that one person at a time, whether it be friend, family member, medical professional, nurse, person that stops us on the street, one person at a time, we can change, along with Olive and the way that we're living our lives, we can change the misconceptions that having a child with Down syndrome, being a person with Down syndrome is scary, because it's really not. Olive is just a baby. Right now, she really is just a baby. Yes, there are things that come along with having Down syndrome, that the way that it affects her body, that'll make things a little bit harder, and that will mean she might be more susceptible to medical conditions. And sometimes they are scary, yes, but having Down syndrome in itself isn't scary. The medical things that come along with it are scary sometimes, but Down syndrome isn't scary. I believe with all my heart that the process from diagnosis through to birth should really change. And even after, because I know that some medical professionals that we speak to now still address the fact that Olive has Down syndrome in a not so nice manner. So just the whole idea around having Down syndrome, I wish and I hope that over Olive's life that outlook that medical professionals have towards her will change. But mostly I'm so passionate after the way that we were treated, and I know that so many other mums in this position are treated, that I pray and I believe that that whole process will be able to change, so that parents aren't forced into something that they don't necessarily believe, and that they can get the right education and insight into what Down syndrome really is like, instead of bullied into having a termination. So if you know someone that has had a possibility, a chance, higher chance of having a baby with Down syndrome, please share our stuff, share other people with Down syndrome, the incredible things that they're doing, and just really encourage them into being informed in their decision that they're making, instead of just going off fear-based choices that are forced on them by medical professionals. And do not get me wrong, please, there are so many lovely medical professionals out there who are really educating people, but there's also a lot who aren't. So yeah, I really encourage people to just share our page, share other people with Down syndrome, and get it out there. We look forward to watching Olive grow up and see all of the incredible things that she can do, and enjoying her life.